So welcome, Jessica Cerato. Jess, for people who don't know who you are, like what's your elevator speech? How do you explain to people who you are and what you do? I know. You're
Oof.
like, wait.
Well, okay. I'm a professional numerologist, an energy strategist, and I help translate the energy of numbers, either in your birth date, in dates of the year, in financial statements, wherever the numbers are. I help translate that into a language that you can understand and you can harness. I laugh. Some people also call me psychic. I think I'm more than that. I like really like we use the energy to conspire with the universe for your highest good. And for me, the language just happens to be numbers because that is the one I am most comfortable with and the most adept at.
I love that. Numerology is something that I love so much. Numerology, astrology, all those things, but it's almost like a different language for me right now. And so I know eventually I'll get more into it. I just accept the messages as they come. Um, what fascinates me about you is you started out in corporate America before you ever
Yes.
decided to go out on your own and become an entrepreneur, which is what you're really doing, right? Because you have your own business. Can you talk to me about that progression of realizing it was time to make that switch?
Yeah, do you know, it really, there were so many choice points in my career and in my life. Even I started on Wall Street. Like I was a trader, like right in New York. I so many choice points in my different avenues in my career, even different organizations I worked for. And it was always the same choice point whenever I felt like I was holding back. Whenever I felt I had to reverse engineer my suggestions or ideas to make it make sense for people, then I knew it was time to go. Right. So going back to my very first job, I traded intuitively. I saw a advertisement on the way on the subway and I was like, that's what I'm going to sell today, even if everyone else bought it. But imagine when I started to make a lot of money, people wanted to understand how. And I wasn't at that point in my life confident enough to say, well, because I'm receiving messages from the numbers, blah, blah, blah. And so I spent hours, and I will say it, wasting time trying to explain to people what I knew like I tried to explain it. And so that really, when you don't have to explain yourself to anybody, that's kind of what it's like to be an entrepreneur, right? When I make decisions and I don't have to run it past a board of directors, or I can make decisions so much more quickly as an entrepreneur, I feel, because I don't have to have all of the quote unquote evidence of why I made a decision. Now, of course, I'm also taking in astrology. I'm a Virgo rising. Like, I have a lot, like, there is a lot of structure, mental intellect that I take in. So it's not like I'm just always flying by the seat of my pants. Like there is such a structure in my business, but that feels supportive to me, not restrictive.
But you've grown this literally from just you. And that's what fascinates me the most because I talk to other creators about what their process is to create. So you've grown a community, right? You've grown people who really support you and show up consistently for you because you show up for them consistently. You have multiple different funnels, you have different masterminds, right? And so how did you start this process of realizing, okay, now I have to actually grow a community to share this value with? Because that's the space that I'm in now is we're flipping to, okay, I understand in order to make connections, in order to give people value, I have to find those people. How did you start growing this out? The website's amazing, right? Like the Facebook page is there, you have all the elements. Did it start that way? Did somebody mentor you and like, oh, Jess, you have an amazing message. I need to help you get that to more people. Because as an entrepreneur, people who are side hustling, right, that want to kind of make that side hustle their full time, how do they even begin to think like you did and build upon that entrepreneurial business which it happens to be around numerology, but it's still a business.
Business. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, first I just have to make an observation about you, which I love, is we'll get to you more for sure, but you are ruling number 3. You are the creator. So I love this because it's like, of course, you're coming in with a question about this creation energy. And I love to work with 3s. I'm not a 3. And so creation energy is something that doesn't come natural to me. And so this is how I started. I laugh. I'll never forget this. Um, I started with a pop up on, was it Facebook or Instagram? I can't even remember. Actually, I'll tell you the truth. I was working corporate and I was like, "Ooh, I think I want to open an Instagram account." I had never used it before. So I asked a younger colleague to help me set it up. And I remember the first time I tried to post something and I couldn't post. And I called him and I was like, Andy, like I'm trying to post like you said, I can't find the little the square, like the plus button. He's like, "Are you using your computer?" And I was like, "Yeah, why wouldn't I use my computer?" He was like, "This is the whole point of social media." So I just want to share that story to tell everyone that I had no social media savvy. I didn't use it before my business. Um, so I just want to, wherever you're at, do not use what you don't know as an excuse to not start. Okay, that would be my first thing. The second thing was I did a pop up called 9 Days of Numerology, where every day on my lunch break, exactly at 12, I went on and I jammed about the numbers in order. And I dressed up like the number. I'm laughing. It kind of like cringe. Like, I can't imagine myself doing this now. Like, I literally dressed up like I felt each of the numbers. I went on, I just chatted about it. And at the end, I'm like, "Do you want to know your numbers? I will do a reading for you." And I think my first price was like $100. And the 3 spots went like that. And it was really because of my enthusiasm about I just loved it so much. I couldn't not do it. And I will say this that I think might annoy some people, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I actually didn't start sharing about numerology in order to make it a business. I didn't quite know what I was going to do with it. I just know that it was such a passion for me, that I loved it so much, that I wanted to share, that I wanted to show up, that I wanted to serve, that I wanted everyone to know about numbers. And then once I started to really um, feel this energy coming back to me, I was like, okay, so now this creation needs a structure because you cannot have flow without structure, right? And it's kind of like the river. In order for the river to flow, your creation to flow, you need to have strong riverbanks so that you can kind of push it in a direction. And, I laugh. I just did the thing. I followed my intuition. I created offers. I sold them. I asked people to share if they loved it. And what is this? 4 years later, a 6-figure business. I'm a bit in still every day in so much gratitude. Also, and you know what? This is what I want everyone to hear. Just like I started off this part of the conversation by saying, I look back and I was like, "Oh, that was so cringe." Like I look back and I did things in my business that went against probably all business strategy that right now I would never do again because it doesn't make business sense to me. But I love that version of myself. I'm gonna cry. Like I love that version of myself that was just like, do it, do it messy. You don't need a full strategy before you take the first step. Like you just do the thing that you love and the universe will come back to you with energy. So, yeah, I just have so much appreciation for her um who did that. And yeah, like thank you for that question because I hadn't thought about that in a while. Sometimes when we get so much in the moment, we're just like it's always been this way and it obviously hasn't.
It hasn't, right?
Right?
You grew
Yeah.
this into something. I call it taking messy action. right? Like, I
Love
think so
that.
many of us get stuck in the learning phase of like, well, how do I do this thing? How do I do it? Right. And I have to be perfect. And I don't know how to live stream. And how do I go and how? And then you get stuck in learning because like somebody else has another funnel or you got another free PDF or whatever, and you're still in learning phase. I just explained to people like, just take messy action. Number one, nobody cares. So nobody cared that you dressed up as numbers, right? It's cringe to you, but like nobody really cared, right? Like maybe thought it was funny. Number two, you took messy action. You did the thing without even overthinking it too, because you probably had a little bit of freedom because you had a job, right? Like that was paying the bills. So for
100%.
this was your love. This was your passion. This was like, I just want to give people value, getting paid is just like the icing on top of the cake, but I can help people in a different way than they've ever thought before. And then like you just did the thing. And I love that you took the next best step. I think a lot of us don't take that aligned action. The inspiration comes, right? You hear the voice and you're just like, right? Like maybe not
Mhm.
now, or like, is it really? Should I really do that? Yes, take the next best step. And that's literally what you did. And then yes, structure. At some point in time when you are going to be doing it to the volume that you are, yes, you'll need a landing page. Yes, you can learn about funnels and all those things and figuring out how to get people into your community. But when you take that messy action, I've also like I don't have as huge of a following by any means, not on YouTube, not on anything. But I'm okay with that. I call it creating in the dark when you don't have that many people following you. Does that make sense? I can be more free creating and just doing it because I like it. Like success to me is because I showed up today and did this podcast, not that millions of people are going to see the podcast. Does that make sense? And so you
Totally.
did that too. You just showed up for yourself. You took messy action and you just created in the dark. It's just assuming like the universe will bring you your people. And then you were consistent. You
Hmm.
consistently started showing up. And I think that's a huge thing that people again get stuck, right? And like I'm too busy or I can't or I won't or I don't or no. But you kept saying yes to yourself. You hear voices. You've talked about this before. I hear voices.
Mhm.
You've been able to, I believe, name them and sort of right niche them. I haven't gotten that deep into it. When you started to hear the voices, were you like, what the fuck? What's going on? Or did you just sort of like, how did you qualify what was happening? Like, how did you put that in perspective?
Yeah, do you know, I think it might be the same for you, although we don't always remember it this way. But it always happens between the ages of 42 and 49. It's like a coming home to ourself. Okay. This 7 year cycle, a lot society labels it like a midlife crisis. No, but you start seeing people acting out in different ways, and it's not about being someone else. It's about being more of who you are. Because at age 45 in the numerology chart, we have the same exact energy that we did when we were born. 45, 4 plus 5 equals 9 is one full cycle. So, although, of course, I could have maybe come to this earlier, it was not a surprise that during these 7 years of my life, I'm right in the middle of them. And I think, yeah, you are too. You're right, kind of at, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
we're in the same
49.
class.
I'm going to be
Yes.
50. We'll get there. But like,
Okay. Okay.
oh my
Yeah.
God, yes, keep saying it.
So, so it really was more of um, a remembering of it wasn't new to me. I had just silenced it. So then I went back to my youth and I had this imaginary friend named Pam, who I kind of now know is my higher self. I actually changed my name for 3 months to Pam. Okay. My teachers had to call me that. My parents had to call me that. My dad always tells a story how he'd be like, Jessica, Jessica. And I wouldn't answer. And he'd be like, Pam. I'd be like, yes. Like I have Christmas cards. I keep it at my desk. I just have to show you this. Where is it? I have a Christmas card that I sent to my parents, and it's like, love Pam. I keep this as a reminder. Okay. Love Pam. Okay. This is 1983. Okay. So, all this to say, when I kind of realized that all of these things that I was hearing, that as a kid I just accepted as like other voices, and I knew who they were and I played with them. But as I got older, of course, maybe that wasn't as socially acceptable. Something happened in my environment where I, didn't quite access them. And so when I started hearing them come back, I was like, oh, okay, let me intentionally work with them. And a lot of what has really helped me is many times we hear these voices and we just take the message. We receive the message, or we go into a meditation and we get this sign or this symbol and we just leave it like that. And what I started to do was talk back. Be like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, what do you mean by that? Who are you? What is your name? Can you take me here? And being an active part in the meditation, being an active part when I received a sign or received a message really helped me learn more about them and decipher who they were and what they were trying to tell me. It started off very simple, as like when I got a sign or I got a voice, I would say, okay, I see you, I hear you, thank you, more please. And then when I got more comfortable, I started to ask, like literally, just imagine you're talking to an imaginary friend. And that's how I developed more of those relationships with them. Now, of course, when I work with other people, their guides come in too. So I meet new people every day. And
Yeah,
that feels natural to me.
like mine were so I had to calm myself down and like pull out my tuning forks, which I have never used yet. But like sound and vibration are big for me, but like I could feel them all. And for some reason, it's never occurred to me to ask them who they are. I don't as soon as you just said that, I was like, why did I never ask? Like, oh, by the way, who you are? Because I think my perception was it was one person, but I definitely know, or one entity or whatever energy, that whatever you want to call it. But I definitely know some of them are different, because like when I'm cooking, I will literally have to say yes, chef, because I cook. I don't follow recipes. I just follow whatever the voice tells me to do. Like
I
sometimes
love
I'll look at
it.
a recipe to start it out, but then I'll hear like the voice just be like, no, we're going to do this. I'm like, okay, yeah, chef. It's the weirdest thing. So I don't know who he or she is, but I'll dig into that deeper.
Yeah, and
But
just play with it. I think this is always my parallel with intuitive work, with spirituality, and also with business. My favorite thing to say, one of my favorite things to say is spirituality doesn't need to be serious, right? Yeah. And business doesn't need to be serious. Yes, we are doing serious things. Yes, we are creating an impact. Yes, like this is our life's work. And if we take ourselves too seriously, we lose the joy, we lose the fun, we lose the lightness. Then it becomes heavy. And of course, we don't want to do it. So, in all aspects of my life, I really try to remember that. Um, and like I said, like there are times in a session where I'm like, all right, buckle up, let's go. It's not like I'm cracking jokes and, all the time. But it is this aspect of like, spirituality doesn't need to be serious. Business doesn't need to be the grind or like the thing every day. And, going back to something you said before is I was very fortunate to have this runway. I call it when I was kind of integrating and really making the decision to go entrepreneur full time. And what that really did for me, and you can do that in a different way. So everyone listening, it's not like you have to stay in corporate or a job while you do that. There's different ways that you can create this runway. But what that runway did was really release the pressure that I would have probably put on my business. And that allowed me to do things because of the action, not because of the result that I wanted from that action. And therefore, I created things that I wanted, that I enjoyed doing. I didn't do something to get X amount of dollars. I did it for the impact because I knew it would help, all of those things. And then the dollars came. So I think a lot of times in when we start a business, if any, I know this is your audience, like when you're starting a business, you have a business plan. And in that business plan, I mean, hello, this is my background. You have financial statements, you have budgets, you have all of these things. But when you start to create very strong cause and effect or expect financial expectations of actions that you take or do not take, it creates a pressure on money that money doesn't like. Money is an energy, money is a frequency, money is a resource, just like time or energy. Like for me, money is a bit boring because it's just what it is, right? And so sometimes when we place too much emphasis on that, it really restricts our creative process. And a lot of times I always see when people give me their financial statements or I'm working with people in business, I'm like, yes, that and something better. Like you always want to set the intention or goal of like, sure. But when you cap it at something, even if you think, oh, I could never reach that, you're actually capping your energetic capacity and you're kind of like squashing a bit of your creativity because you're like, I'm doing this to get this. And that feels transactional. And what I want my business to feel like is transformational. So
Oh
whenever I
my
get too
gosh.
transactional in my business, I'm like, boom, boom, bring it back.
I love that because I've been trying to heal my relationship with money for the past few years. I was born in 1975. I grew up in the 80s. My parents are boomers. So you worked a corporate job. You got bonuses. You had a 401k, right? Like if you're lucky enough to retire, like that's the trajectory you did. So I did corporate media for so long, working at ABC, Disney, HSN, iHeartMedia. And then, of course, during COVID, which I know your life changed during COVID, a lot of our lives changed during COVID. I just decided I'm going to leave to do something different. And because I was already side hustling, helping people with content and helping them tell their story. So I was like, well, let's flip flop to that. But my relationship with money was still, you get a paycheck. You know what you're getting, right? Like, this is what you're working towards. And I was like, this is just such an unhealthy relationship. And then I also have a scarcity mindset around money. Like it can be taken away from you, or you can lose it. Or do you know what I'm saying? And then my husband, who I love him to death, but he grew up with not a lot of money. So
Mm-hmm.
his dad um, grew a business, an amazing business with his father-in-law. So his technically my husband's step grandfather. But then step grandfather, after my husband's dad got divorced from my husband's stepmom. Does all that make sense? Essentially,
Yes.
my husband's dad grew a business, and then his father-in-law during the divorce then took the business away. So my husband also has this weird scarcity mindset of like it can be taken away. Does that make sense? You can grow something and it can be taken. So we're trying to heal our relationship because I do believe in don't cap it. One of my friends, who was the one who actually introduced me to you, Shannon Winchester, was basically like, don't attach yourself to the outcome of something that's happening because the universe could fill in that gap in a more amazing way than you've ever imagined. So like, why are you trying to make something happen when
Mhm.
you need to allow that magic in? And so I'm now building this business, a paid community that I'm trying to create, because I really do want to help other business owners fill in the gap that I didn't have, right? Because you buy a course and you're like, here's another course that you're never going to do because I have ADHD. So I just buy into the hook. I don't actually do the thing. I don't follow through. And that's on me. It's not on the person putting out the course,
Mhm.
right? Like I have 2 binders, 3-inch binders of free PDFs I've never filled out. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Totally.
I was stuck in learning for so long, and then finally I was like, let's just do the next best thing.
You know, this is really fascinating because I think, okay, one thing we'll come back to it, but 2026, you have a big shift in your chart. You're actually moving into a brand new season, which feels really good. So we'll get there. But
Okay.
this is a lot of what I see with business owners is exactly that. They're trying to replace their corporate income. And that never works, right? Because we just want to think as money as a resource. So, um, and I really invite people to think about, and as I tell people all the time, I'm like, you don't want to be rich. You don't want to be rich. And they're like, what? I'm like, you want to be wealthy. Why? Rich people have money. Wealthy people have abundance. Rich people work for money. Wealthy people know how money works for them. Rich people, to your husband's point, rich people can lose it all. Wealthy people never run out of opportunities, flow, or support. So, really shift this from rich to wealth, using money as just one of the resources that comes in when you truly feel wealthy.
I
How
just
does that
literally
like
felt I literally felt my whole body shift.
yeah.
That is so crazy. Essentially, leaving corporate America, I feel myself trying to fill that paycheck gap.
Yeah. We want to replace apples with apples, right? And this is where, quite honestly, it will never work because you're capping yourself. You're only going to ever get an apple. And who only ever wants to get apples? So, really shifting this into you don't want to be rich. And I'm going to say this very, very confidently. You don't want to be rich because you better believe I know a lot of rich people way back even in my corporate days and in Wall Street. And they weren't happy. Why? Because they weren't wealthy. So, really shifting from, and everyone knows this, like, this is, I think, part of why we want to leave corporate, right? The corporate executive with a massive salary who can't sleep at night because they hate their job or they feel like they're wasting their life. Yeah, they're rich, but they're not wealthy. And it's all about reallocating of your resources and putting money on the same level as time, as energy. They're all resources. None is better than the other. And just really bringing those together and working together. And I also just wanted to answer your question about, if not this, something more, or like how we can really lean into this in business. And I'll use like a real example in terms of resource. I'll use the resource of time, but you can fill in the blank with money. So imagine that you're in your house and you're like, oh, I want more time. I want more time. Okay, I want more of this resource. I know if I get a gift of a house cleaner, the house cleaner comes and cleans my house, that's going to give me more time because I'm not going to have to clean my house. So you get really specific, and I'm trying not to be so sarcastic, but you manifest a house cleaner, okay? This is like what you're trying to do. Your doorbell rings, you open the door, and it's your neighbor, and they've brought you dinner. And if you're so focused on your manifestation of a house cleaner, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be like, what the hell? I thought you were the house cleaner. Is the universe not listening to me? And you might even get annoyed that your neighbor is at your house instead of your house cleaner. Except when you pause and say, oh, they made me dinner. If they didn't make me dinner, I would have had to use my resource of time to make dinner myself or use my resource of money to buy dinner. So actually, this gift of dinner at my doorstep is actually the universe responding to my request for more time. It just didn't come in the way that you thought. And I think that's what many people miss, right? And so, again, when we ask for a specific amount of money, we miss the wealth that comes in other ways because we're so fixated on that number. And I laugh as a numerologist. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's true. A number is just a number, right? It's the energy that you put behind the number that's most important. And I think that's just really, especially as we build our business, right? And we don't get the instant gratification, or I mean, never, I don't want to say, but it's very rarely a linear reward. It's not like 1 hour of work gets me this amount of money. It doesn't work like that in the entrepreneurial world. And that can feel really disappointing at first until you freaking realize, oh my gosh, an hour of my time doesn't equate to an amount of money. This means it's limitless. Like, it's through the uncertainty, although uncertainty feels bad in our body sometimes. If we can embrace the uncertainty and really get excited about that and be like, oh my gosh, anything is possible, everything is possible. That's really where it starts to shift. There's so much, I mean, money stuff that I just, yeah.
Well, I'm creating a paid community. And so I've been working, I mean, more than I've ever worked before to create elements and all the things right around it. I'm not even worrying about the money because I truly do. I've started to shift that mindset. So I do know, like, whatever's meant to happen, it'll happen as long as I keep true on my word and deliver value into that community. that's so funny that the one thing that you brought up is time, because that's the one thing I feel like I don't have enough of. And so, because I just every day I'm like, oh my God, I'm a terrible wife and mother. I'm like, we're going to order out again, or it's a fend for yourself night because I have so much more stuff to do. I can't even stop what I'm doing. Or when you're in flow too, it's like, well, it's 6 o'clock, they want dinner, but I'm literally in flow right now. I'm not going to stop. And so we've been discussing outsourcing certain things where it's like, can we afford it? But it's almost like we can't afford not
Not
to. And I
to.
have to trust that outsourcing the things that one of my friends, Kate Butler, says, like, certain things don't move the needle for me. She's like, so doing dishes doesn't move the needle for me because I'm going to have to do them again. She's like, doing laundry doesn't move the needle for me. I'm going to have to do them again. So she's like, I outsourced all of it so that I can focus on my business, which does move the needle for me. And so that sort of changed it because I was like, wait, she's like, could I have afforded somebody to come clean my house every day? No. But like, did it eventually pay off because it allowed me to work on the business? 100%. And I was like, wow, I don't know why I never thought about that.
And also energetically, what she did was again put time and money on the same step, which is what we want to do. If we're constantly telling the universe, not I agree, we never say I think money is more important than time, right? But if you are constantly saying, oh, I can't afford that, you're saying money is more valuable to me than time, then of course you're going to keep on getting these lessons of like, well, you said this, so here we go. And when you really bring it together and it's like, okay, I have all these ingredients, I have all these resources, I have time, I have money, I have energy. None is better or worse than the other. They're all just resources. How can I reallocate them? How can I work them together so they're working together? They're not at odds with each other. And that's when the flow comes, right? Because it's an energetic exchange, not like a transactional exchange.
Yeah, I literally can feel like my whole body shifting. It's so crazy. Like, you're
Yeah.
like getting that like energetic applause. I love that. I've been finding $5 bills everywhere. Like, does that mean in how the most random bill to me is a $5 bill? But
A
I
bill.
found in my husband's laundry, I found it in like this wallet I was cleaning out. Like, I'm just like, how do I keep finding $5 bills? Does that mean anything? I wanted to ask you that.
Um, of course, it always means something. And there's two ways we can approach it. I always laugh because that's one of the most commonly asked questions I get is like, I keep seeing this or this number pops up. What does it mean? And my first response is like, okay, well, what does it mean to you? And I'm not trying to be annoying, but it could be something personal as, man, my grandma every Sunday used to slip me $5 underneath the table, right? Or like you could equate it with a person or a memory of why that specific thing is significant to you. So that's really a first part.
Okay.
Okay. It could be a message from that person or that memory. We could look at the number five, which if I put the five on your body, it is your heart. It in tic tac toe, if you can imagine tic tac toe or Hollywood squares, the five is the middle box. So it's literally connected to all the other numbers. It's the only number that is. And the five represents freedom, curiosity. Um, and so if you're consistently seeing five or five is coming to you in that way, it could be reminding you that you're all connected. You are connected. Feel Make a decision from your heart, not your head. You're restricting your freedom. Maybe you're not being curious enough. Instead of saying something, ask a question, right? Like, and what I encourage you to do here, and everyone, is you don't have to do this like formally. I don't want to make this a homework assignment, but keep track of these signs, right? Keep track of what you were doing, what were you feeling, and pretty soon you will start to see a pattern. I'll give you two examples here. Um, I There are many ways that energy flows through my body, and one is taste. Okay, and a lot of times when energy is trying to come through, usually for other people, I would get really this overwhelming smell and taste of smoke, so much that I would cough. And I was like, okay, are you smoking? Is this about health? What is this? But I kept track of it. And maybe after the fifth or sixth time, I was like, no, this is like an older person who has passed over wanting to come back. They didn't necessarily smoke, but that indicated to me, oh, it felt like a grandma or grandpa energy. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that was that for me. And even as a numerologist, there was one example when I kept on getting these numbers 1025, 1025. I had no idea. Like, I actually tried to figure out, like, obviously what these energetic numbers were. And it wasn't until months later when I was actually filling out an application and the address was 1025. And then I was like, oh, shoot. And then I knew exactly what to do with that. But if I hadn't written it down, if I hadn't made a note of it, if I hadn't stayed open to that, I might have just missed it, or like many of us do, I might have wrote it off as a coincidence. I always laugh. I had one client who was like, we were playing with signs, and she was like, okay, I'm going to ask for a pink car, right? Like to see a pink car. And I'll never forget, she messaged me in the middle of the day. She sent me a picture of it, and it was like a light pink car. And she was like, I saw this, but like, I imagined it would be like fuchsia. Like, do you think this is the pink car? And I was like, oh my gosh, are you asking for a sign of your sign? Like, is this seriously what we're
A
doing here?
sign to your sign. That's hilarious. I love
So it's
that.
like, but if she hadn't been paying attention or recording it, right? So that was a long-winded question to your answer to your
Answer to my question.
question about like what. So it's really like significance in terms of the energetics that we all feel, right? So what does the number five, or what does the feather signify, or what do one? So many people see 111. Yes, we can look at like numerologically what that means, but for me, I'll be blunt. I don't care what it means. I care what it means for you, because that's why it's coming through for you. And the quicker you can access that, um, you're going to get the breakthrough that you're wanting.
Okay, so when I asked, so I part of my like manifestation games was just bring me money. Like I just want to find money. People talk about finding money all the time. It'd be amazing to find money. And started with pennies, then I went to nickels, then I went to dimes, then I went to quarters, then it was dollar bills. So when it was dollar bills, I was like, okay, this is incredible. I love it. I want to see hundreds. I want to see hundreds. I want to find hundreds. And so we now escalated from ones to fives.
Fives.
Doesn't that, so like to me, I'm like, okay,
Absolutely.
now we're finding fives. Okay. We're not finding like pennies or anything else anymore. We're finding fives. Great. Amazing. I still want those hundreds. I can't wait to see those hundreds. So maybe we'll elevate to tens and 20s and eventually get to hundreds, or maybe
Mhm.
we'll skip from fives to hundreds. But like that's where it came from for me, where I was like, when I finally sat, I was like, what? Why am I finding all these $5 bills? It was like,
Do you know
well,
what? What's coming through for me is like a message for you of like it gets easier. It's not always going to be so linear. So I'm laughing as I'm with numerologist. I'm not going to probably get this right, but it's like, okay, like it takes, if you were going for $1,000, it would take how many pennies to get there? How many nickels to get there? How many dimes to get there? Like how many, and then like I think that's also part of the message for you, is like it can't take you linearly there because you're always going to keep linearly of like that. But what it's trying to tell you is like it's not always going to take you finding something 100 times to equal a dollar, right? It's going to take you, or like if we take the dollar versus the $5, it's not going to take you
mm-hmm.
100 times. It's going to take you 20 times. And then if you go to tens, it's going to take you 10 times. And if you go to 20, it's going to take you 5 times. If you go to 50, it's going to take you 2 times. If then you can get $100 bills and start there, right? That's what I feel a little bit of this message is for you. I love that, actually. That feels fun.
And then how crazy is it that you said 1025, which is what we're going to get into, is my
Yes,
birth date. And
your
1025, as soon
birthday.
as you
Oh
said
my gosh.
1025, I was like, oh my God, she just said my birth date.
So the first thing is, as I'm sharing this for everyone listening with Rachel, there are resources outside of me that I've actually created that you can do this for yourself. So I have a lot of free resources, a free ebook where you can calculate your ruling number. I actually published a book called Decode Your Deck. Like there's so many things that you could. Yes, of course. Would I love to work with you? Would I love to help you with your numbers? Amazing. And you don't need to hire me to access this information. So
I'll
we'll
put
put some
all
of
the
that in the
links.
show
Yeah, I'll
notes.
put all
Yeah.
the descriptions, everything.
Yeah. So the first thing I do with a birth date is I add up all the digits together and I get one number between 2 and 11. And right away, I know some people are going to say, well, what happened to the one? There is this newer age numerology that does life paths between 1 and 9, but I am with Pythagoras. I stand with the grandfather of numerology, and he says we are all one. The one is the only number that's in all of us. So one person cannot be one. We're all ones. So everyone has a ruling number between 2 and 11. And your ruling number is 3. And the 3 is the creator, is, if I were to put it on your body, it's on your head on the right side. So a very feminine mental energy. It's like the birthplace of ideas, the innovator. Um, and also in the empowered side, in the flow, is very like fun and social. But you feel, if you can just imagine, if you're listening, the number 3, when you write it out, how one side is completely open and one side is completely closed. This brings us to the in the mud side. You can call it negative, I choose not to, but the challenge side of the 3, which is indecision about ideas, worry about ideas, wanting things close to you, and maybe afraid or not allowing people to see all of you. And so the challenge of the 3 is to really embrace your creative, innovative side and allow your brain and your mind to help instigate action, not get stuck in your mind.
I
The
feel
other
like
interest,
that's perfect. I'm so sorry, but I
no, no,
just want to
no.
explain like how that totally makes sense because um as I'm taking action, I can feel that like muddiness.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I'm moving more into like my woo woo phase, I guess you can call it, right? Where like I believe in energy. I just straight up said I hear voices, right? So I'm integrating that into what I'm doing, taking baby steps because it needs to
Mhm.
be palatable for people that don't understand this world and they're not there yet. Um, so that totally makes sense because it's like these two worlds I'm trying to combine, and I know that I can. I'm just baby stepping into it. I'm not like opening the door like, hi, like I can do all these amazing things. Um, I'm just baby stepping into that energy. So that totally makes sense.
Mhm. I love that. And I love how you just brought me into the next part of this, which is, this spiritual side of you, this woo woo side of you, is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Here's why. Because your ruling number, when I add up all the digits, some people who are a 3 are a 1, 2, 3 or a 2, 1, 3. You are a 3, 0, 3. And whenever we bring the 0 into numerology, that is spirituality. That is the expansion. That is kind of what I say, like the black hole, right? Of possibility. And 0 is also the energy of purpose. So your creations need to have a purpose. Some people can just be creative for the sake of creativity. There is this underlying spirituality and purposefulness, is that a word? Or a need for fulfillment with that 0. And I laugh. Many numerologists, I'm kind of the lone proponent of the 0. A lot of numerologists say, well, 0 doesn't mean anything. It's a space holder. But because of my work in finance, I'm like, dude, 0 is the difference between $100,000 and $1 million. You better believe I'm bringing in the 0 to numerology. So that 0 is so important for you. When we look at your day number, so 2, 5 = 7, this tells you about what is important in your day to day life. And I'm going to say something that I hope feels empowering and not annoying, which is you are meant to learn lessons. You're going to get a whole lot of lessons in your lifetime, physical lessons, like not just, I got to learn this in my mind. It's like, no, life freaking lessons. A lot of times it feels like this crash and burn. I always get a motorcycle like vroom, vroom, with the 7. So it feels like there's many moments in your life where you've had these lessons, but your job is to understand that these lessons are not just for you. Your mission in this life is to share them for others. And I know it's like, oh, well, like, do I really want all these lessons if I know, like, does it make it any easier? I'm not saying it's going to make it any easier, but it does. I hope it makes it feel more purposeful for you. Of any time you ask yourself, why did that happen? Or why did I have to go through it? It's because you did and because you have to share it. If someone were to tell you, I don't have this in my chart, right? So if someone were to tell you, okay, Rachel, the sky is blue, you would actually need to go out to see it to make sure that it is. I would be like, okay, cool, thanks. like I and so it's like really important to know of like these life lessons are your are part of your mission. Um the
That
next
makes
thing we
sense
do, does that
too.
make
Wait, can
sense?
I?
Yeah.
Yes, because
Mhm.
I feel that each time, like everything I've been doing, I've just been taking the aligned action and I haven't asked the why. And I haven't asked, like, well, is this going to work out? Like, I haven't asked any of that because I know it doesn't matter because I know whatever the journey is the experience I'm supposed to have because I'm capable, especially like being a storyteller my whole life, like behind the scenes as a producer, like TV producer, radio producer, podcast producer. But I have the ability to transmute that experience into a story that can help people. And so I
Totally.
understand that. I understand what I'm like finally moving into. So like if it doesn't work out, it was meant to be that way. If it does work out, it was meant to be that way. So like whatever it is, if it was a mistake, we learn from the mistake. I know that the experience is the purpose so that I
I
can
love that.
transmute that into a story and then help somebody else along the way. So like at
Yeah.
first it sucked. At first it sucked because there's been experiences where I'm like, oh God, why are we on this ride? But now that I'm a stepped away from a lot of those other like traumatic experiences that I've gone through, I've been able to be like, oh no, it's so that I can help other people. So it's more palatable to me than maybe to somebody
Yeah.
else.
And I always, this visual is kind of coming through for you, which is like so fascinating. Is like if you think of all these experiences or quote unquote mistakes or something as these like big rocks or boulders, right? Part of you wants to hold on to them because it's like, oh, do I really want anyone to see this? But actually, what I see you doing is like placing them on the ground and like using them as stepping stones. They're actually like taking you on a path forward. So you have to let them down. You can't carry them. You have to let others see them because that's actually the path. Like you're showing them the path. That feels really good.
That just whoa. I'm going to cry. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
because I feel myself holding onto the boulders. I feel that. I feel myself thinking like feeling like I'm protecting myself for something, but like to and they imagine no, it's literally the next step. You let go of it and it's the next step
Yeah.
makes total like it completely changed that energy for me. Like holy
Oh, I
shit.
love that.
Jessica, oh my
I
god.
love it.
I love
I
you
love
so
it.
much.
Oh,
Oh my
so
god, I
good.
needed that so bad. That's so
Good.
crazy. Okay.
And you see, okay, we're going to continue on with the chart, but this is like pausing for everybody is like knowing your numbers is one thing. Like, same thing, knowing your horoscope is the other. But like when you can place it into like this energy that you can actually feel, you're bringing the frequency into you. And that's what, like, if you allow it into your heart, that's what shifts the energy, right? Because numbers are energy, are frequency. So are we. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're translating it. Um, I love this part of your chart. So the next part is called the energy grid. And this is where we place all of the numbers of your birth date kind of in their home base where they're meant to go. This goes back to that tic tac toe I was saying, right? So the 3, 6, and 9 are above on your head, the 2, 5, and 8 are across your heart, and the 1, 4, and 7 are across the body. And when we do that, I look for double numbers. I look for connection of numbers. I mean, we could spend an hour talking about your energy grid, but I just want to bring one part up. And I'm going to try to say this. I can show you, but I'm going to try to say this in a way that people listening can understand. So, do you see how? So, Rachel has the 1, the 5, and the 9 through her chart this way. This creates this tic tac toe. The 1, the 5, and the 9 are connected for her. Okay. So, I don't have this. This is unique, like because of your birthday. And this, you have found the most efficient way to get from 1 to 9, right? Like Shrek. Okay. This is called the air of determination, which means you get shit done. But two things happen here. This also means that you've overcome a lot of obstacles in your life. So much so that when you face an obstacle, you're like, okay, how do I get over this? Okay, how do I? And it's like, stop proving to yourself that you can overcome obstacles. Dude, you've already done it. There are some obstacles I feel in your path, either now or in the future, where you don't need to actually overcome it. Just detour, just walk around it, just find another way. Some obstacles, like you don't need to prove anything, you've already done that. The second thing that happens is 1 to 9, we get to the end and you go right back to the 1. So 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9. And I feel this speaks to your task list. You have so many things on your list. As soon as you complete something, you go right on to the next. You go right on to the next. People like us love people like you because you get things done quicker, so much so that by the time we go to do it, it doesn't need to get done because you've already done it. So, two things happen. We feel this energy in you and we ask you a lot for help. So, I guarantee you, many people come to you to ask for help in getting something done. Okay. So, you know, of course, energetically, what you can do with that. It's really be discerning about what you say yes to, what you say no to. But the bigger thing that came through in your chart today was the importance of celebrating yourself. Think about what you do subconsciously when your reward for finishing something is congratulations, Rachel, you get to do the next thing. Dude, that is not a reward. And subconsciously, what happens is our body gets trained in a way of like, oh, I don't actually want to do this. Not because I don't want to do this thing, but because I know what I have to do after. And I know that I always reward myself with finishing something and I get to go to the next thing. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to self sabotage. I'm going to procrastinate. I'm not going to finish this thing. Okay. So the antidote for this is celebration.
Okay. I wanted to like pause you for a second
Oh,
to like tell you how I'm relating to this. So
please.
because my background is in TV and radio, you're only as good as your next bit. You're only as good as your next guest. You're only as good as your next segment. So not only is that in my chart, it was reinforced in my brain for over 20 years, right? So like you would do a postmortem meeting, great job, or that sucked, whatever they felt like. Great job, great. What's next? Like that's how much you celebrated. Was that it? Because you're on to the next thing. You're on to the next bit, day, show. Do you know what I'm saying? Event. So that's ingrained in me to literally be like, okay, great. What's next? I don't celebrate anything. I don't celebrate my wins. I don't stand on my mountain of value. I look to the next mountain. Like I just roll to the next thing. I don't celebrate anything about myself or about my wins. And then when you said the 1 to the 9, back to the 1 to the 9, there's a lot of stuff in my life because I don't have great habits. So I always feel like I'll get in alignment. I'll clean up my gut. I'm doing all the things and I'm back down
Oh,
here, right? It's almost
mm-hmm.
like when you take medicine and you feel really good. And you're like, I don't need this medicine anymore. And you're like, boom. No, you were doing all the things to get you here. Like keep doing those things. I call it a merry-go-round. Like sometimes I just tell my husband, like, I just want to get off the merry-go-round. I just want to get off the merry-go-round. So like when you made that relation too, I was like, that felt like that energy to me too. I was like, oh my God, I love you so much. You're amazing.
Yeah.
So
And this celebration, because I want to give you something tangible here. This celebration doesn't need to be huge in terms of something big. And actually, because I know, well, I always thought, I feel like I know you very well because I know your chart. I also feel that it's going to be important for you not, I really want you to hear this. I don't want you to just celebrate what you do because I want you to celebrate who you are. So be really careful not to always associate celebration with an accomplishment or completing something. And this could be as simple as every day taking a candle and putting it in your dinner, putting it in the pizza, putting in the meatloaf, putting it in the whatever. If you have dessert, sure, put in the dessert and just say something, celebrate something about yourself and like blow out the candle. Or just something in the morning where you're like, man, I am freaking kind. I
so why is this
am,
so hard for me? Like I'm literally bawling my eyes out
well,
because when it was framed as celebrating something I do, that was easy. And as soon as you
yes,
change that, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't
yes.
know how to celebrate who I am.
And whenever we hit resistance like this, I want to be clear. It is not a block. There are no blocks. Resistance, when we feel this emotion in our body, when we resist something, the antidote is curiosity. I don't know how to celebrate myself. Okay, I wonder if it could be this way. I wonder if really getting curious about what is possible, what could work, and just opening up this portal of curiosity in response to that resistance. And that I feel will be the work for you, right? Is to stay open and curious. And you might need to try some different things in order to feel what feels authentically you, to celebrate you. But I feel this is a huge, I feel this actually is a beautiful portal for this next level of your business. Because if you only ever celebrate what you do or the accomplishments of blah, 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 you're going to lose yourself in the business. And again, that goes back to our conversation before. Which would you rather, rich versus wealthy? Which would you rather, like, right? Like, would you rather feel successful or would you rather feel like yourself? And what good is success if you can't celebrate it? I think that's also a question. Like, what good is freaking success if you can't celebrate it? And so I'm not saying, again, this is not a block, but many people subconsciously resist success because they don't know how to celebrate it. Or they know, just like you, I bet this is also in your arrow. Whenever you do get something, I'm going to do this. When you get there, you like set the bar higher. Then you set the bar higher. Then you set the bar higher. And it's like, dude, is that ever going to end?
No,
And this
because
is
the
no,
goalposts always
always
move, right? That's
moves.
why I tell all my clients the goalposts always move. And with my healing my relationship with money, I shifted my view of success as I showed up for myself today, right? Like I got up, I showered, I got ready, like I doing that, like I showed up for myself. That's success to me. Success doesn't equate to money. And so just these little shifts, like I feel better already about it, but I also understand what you mean by losing myself in the doing with this business and this community because I can see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted 2025 to be really more like I can show up as like a wife and a mother for my family. And then I said yes to this business. And now I'm like, oh shit, I can't balance this. Like
Yeah.
this is the ball that's in the air and this is what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I have kids that are old enough to understand and don't need mommy as much anyway. Like they're 13 and 14, they could care less about me. My husband, like as long, like he'd love a hot dinner on the table, but he's also like, whatever, we'll order out. It's not a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Like when he comes home and I have crazy eyes, like, oh my God, I've been doing all day. So I'm lucky that I have family that just supports whatever it is that I'm doing and is fine with it. But I'm the one that like puts all that pressure on myself. And I think
Myself.
that it took me years to understand my value, like even to invoice somebody, like the energy around
Oh,
numbers, right? Of like invoicing people. I could not understand what my value was. So it was so uncomfortable to be like, okay, well, this is what it costs. Do you know what I mean? And instead of just like, this is what it costs, like just,
yeah. And it's so funny. In the last few minutes we have, I just want to, so we played a lot with the numbers, and that's one part of numerology. The other part is the deck of cards. So our calendar is based on the deck of cards, 52 weeks in the year, 52 cards in the deck. There's 13 moons, 13 numbers in each of the suits, 4 seasons, 4 suits. If you add all of the numbers of a deck of cards together, you get 364. And the joker is 1 1/4, 365 1/4. So all this to say, the numbers that we've talked about with you are who you are. The cards are our job description. And I'm saying job in quotation marks, of like our work that we're meant to do. And in your chart specifically, you are the 10 of hearts. 1, 2, 3, 4. I knew it. Your biggest work in this lifetime is your own self love, ace of hearts. Your ace of diamonds is going to be your biggest blessing, which is the lesson of your self worth is not tied to what it is you do, it is who you are. So you can never charge what you're worth because you're like priceless, right? And here, I want to take a little bit, two things I want to do. I want to take a little bit of pressure off not just you, but anyone who's listening. And I know this is kind of like an against the grain take, but I really want you to open your mind to this. What if you didn't have to heal your relationship with money? What if it could just be neutral? Money doesn't care. And that's the point. Money doesn't care if you like it, doesn't care if you ignore it. It's not ghosting you because you haven't journaled about it. Money is neutral. It's a resource. It responds to clarity, it responds to alignment, it responds to energy, not guilt, not fear, right? And so the idea that you have to heal your relationship with money before you can have it is part of the reason people stay stuck. Because if you believe money is something you need to fix, you're saying that you are broken. If you're trying to earn your worth with money, we've missed the point. Money is a resource. It's not a reward. It's not here to prove anything or say anything about us. So I invite, if you've been on this journey, to can you can I stop making it personal? Can I stop making it emotional? Can I stop making money mean anything about me? What if I treated money like oxygen, like my calendar, like my phone charger? Is it useful? Yes. Is it necessary? Sure. Is it loaded with meaning? No. You don't need to heal your money wounds. You need to stop giving money so much power over your identity. And I can say you hands down, this has, I'm going to sound really obnoxious right now, but this type of mindset, because of my numerological chart, the six of diamonds, this mindset comes natural to me. I cannot imagine being emotional about money because it's just very like this for me. And I'm not saying it's the right way, but I am saying it's another way to look at it that I think could be helpful and more freeing and take something off the to-do list that feels very hard.
That was beautiful. I mean, I couldn't end it any better than that. That was
Mhm.
absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for joining, like just giving me your time. I'm so appreciative. Truly, truly. What
Well,
is your website if people want to find you and book? Do you do one-on-one sessions or?
this is a good, this is a, I think these people listening might be the last people to get these one-on-one sessions.
I was like, can I book? I was like, can I book a one-on-one
Yeah,
with you so I can finish this reading with
I'm
you?
I'm booked pretty solid, and I am shifting a little bit more in a beautiful way. My business is expanding, which is beautiful. But right now, they are still available, and it's at jessicacerato.com. I'm also on Instagram. Going back to the beginning of the conversation, I figured out how to use Instagram.
That's
And I
amazing.
actually like using it now. So I'm on Instagram. I also have a free group on Facebook where I do pop up readings, right? That's called Numbers Don't Lie. That's a free group. And like I said, I'll send, we'll have all the links to all
Yeah.
the free resources about how you can make decisions using your money, how you can, oh, this was a good one, how you tend to deal with signs, because we talked about that. That's a free
Mm-hmm.
resource I have too. Yeah, and I just love talking about this and love connecting with people and love really, I mean, I just love it all. So I
I
really
love it.
appreciate
Like
you.
literally,
Yeah.
you just shifted so many things for me in just 1 hour. It's
Mm.
incredible. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.